There we go. On the old gabbit. That's a better one. There we go. There you go. Hell yeah. Alrighty, say goodbye.
And I just don't know if they're gonna eat white. Oh, here comes a big one. Yeah. Fucking drag slips again. All right. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I think he wanted it.
I think he wanted it. Fat fish. What is up, my friends? Griff and I were having just our normal kind of random conversations, and a rod that we've both been using for quite some time keeps swirling around our conversations is a rod that's becoming really one of our favorites.
Yes.
And so today we just wanted to basically break down a rod that both of us are in love with, share some insight, share some surprises, and just kind of really deep dive a specific model that has become kind of just a great all-around heavy line, heavy bait, multi-use rod.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you would like to join in on a little rod geeking conversation about one of our favorite rods, it's a Steez AGS, by the way, come along. We'll have some fun and see where it goes. So, you ready?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle.
Oh, what a stud. Yeah.
Look at that. That was sick. Cheers, my friends. Happy Sunday. All right, guys, some breaking news. What's new this week at the Hookup Tackle?
What a beautiful coastal fish.
Look at that.
Look at that gut on that.
That's a nice fish.
Welcome back, my friends. I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, a tackle otaku on Instagram, being joined by my buddy Griff at G-Sticks Bespoke on Instagram, and my other buddy Jeffrey the King on Instagram. What's up, Jeffrey the King?
What's up?
So today we're going to talk about the sick-ass rod.
Yeah.
That we've both been using for the last couple of years, but recently, over the last couple of months, both of us have been kind of having the same conversation with each other.
Yeah,
about this stick.
It's a sick stick, and we both started off using it for a very specific reason. But I mean, every time you take it out, it opens up new possibilities, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rod we are talking about is the Steez 7.4 Extra Heavy. So did I say extra heavy?
Heavy.
Extra heavy. So otherwise known as the Heavy Cover Special. Okay. So this is a 7.4 Extra Heavy. It's rated 1/2 to 2 ounce. Line rating is 14 to 30 pound. It's a pretty straightforward rod that we both got to be a frog rod.
Frog, yeah.
Right?
Frog.
Now, if you have been in the Steez world for a long period of time, you will remember back a decade ago, 15 years ago, Daiwa first came out with this model, the 7.4 Extra Heavy, as a Steez XBD. So XBD used to be the braid specific line of rods for Steez, and it was known very quickly as like the greatest frog rod ever made, because it was kind of the first rod that weighed nothing.
Yeah.
That was built for power fishing, right? So that rod, probably more than any rod that I can think of, has been kind of duplicated from other brands, other, rod lines. That rod and that 8-foot Compile X flipping stick were kind of the two that really made Steez famous, right? And so now that 8-foot Compile X is in Steez as they're flipping and pitching their 7-Eleven. And then this one obviously came in as their frog rod.
Yeah.
What Griff and I do all the time is, you know, Griff will go fish, and you know, when he comes back in, we'll just have a conversation like, bro, how was it, right? And we just shoot the shit, and we talk about different rods we used, different baits we used, and same thing, if I go out and come back, then we talk about like, hey, this is my experience. And what we found is over the last year, even though we both bought this for frogs, we've done so many different things on it, and there's certain things that really just shines on.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. And then we're still learning. That's the that's the crazy part about it. It's like, you know, you take it out for specific reasons. Like, oh, I'm going frog fishing. Let me grab this rod, and this rod, because I'm gonna have 3 frogs tied on.
Yep.
But then you want to do something else, and you're like, oh, which one of these rods can I tie this or that on?
Yep.
And then you just figure it out.
Yeah.
Fucking.
So let's break it down just a little bit. So this rod, as we mentioned before, it's 7.4. It's extra heavy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in this rod.
A lot of power.
It's a pretty fast rod.
Fast.
So there's not a lot of give up here on the tip. It's pretty fast, right? So as a frog rod, as a dedicated frog rod, right? How would you rate this compared to, like, we talk about the TS Destroyer poker all the time, right? How would you compare this as a dedicated frog rod?
So for a pure dedicated frog rod, I think the poker is going to give you a little bit more versatility on what frogs you can throw, because the poker is just a little bit softer on the tip, right? So you can cast a wider range of frogs better, right? This one, this one's big frogs. It's only heavy. It has to be heavy to get a good cast out of it, right? Because of how fast it is. So big gabbit, gavacho are the only 2 frogs I'll throw on there. So
it's going to be a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce frog. You're not throwing smaller, more finessey stuff.
Oh no,
there's no way.
No,
right?
Not even like a full size Spro.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
So
okay, so just to kind of mirror what Griff was saying, what you will find with this rod is because it's really fast, it doesn't really forgive on the cast.
No.
So where some rods, like a poker, it's got kind of a little soft tip. When you get those rods that have that little softer tip, they're a little bit more forgiving. So if your timing isn't perfectly spot on, it's okay, because the rod tip is kind of still like lagged for a second as your casting stroke is coming through. That rod is still like, I got you.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas this one, that doesn't happen. Like, this rod is fast, so your timing has to be spot on. So you have to almost relearn how to not suck to be accurate with this rod. That's how I think of it, because every time I go to my poker and I'm fishing my poker and then I pick this one up, my casting sucks for like a solid 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so used to kind of the rod helping me, and all of a sudden it's not anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
And those casts are coming like like laser beams. It comes off of that rod like a laser. It's like, it's either straight down,
right?
It's like straight at the toolie or whatever,
right?
And that poker, you can kind of like finesse it into spots,
right? That little bend helps,
yeah.
Right? But this rod does so many things extremely well other than frogs.
Yes.
So even though we both bought it for frogs, I would say as a dedicated frog rod, I still prefer the poker.
Yes.
This rod is lighter.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it's like half the weight of a poker. But this rod is, in my opinion now, after fishing the entire Steez line for a year, I would say this is the most sensitive rod in the line.
I agree.
So if you guys are looking for a rod that literally you can feel a fish breathe on your bait, this is the rod. Which is crazy. I never would have expected it to be, because it's built for heavy cover special, right? Frog, pitching, like things where ultra sensitivity isn't that big of a deal, right? But one experience that I'll share with you guys, when the sleeper gill first came out, right? And I've shared this with you. When the sleeper gill first came out from Megabass, we literally unboxed them, grabbed a couple baits, and we ran to a pond around the corner from the shop. So me and Callan and Andrew, we ran to the pond, right? And I grabbed a rod from our rod pile. I thought I grabbed the 7.2 heavy.
Yeah.
Got to the pond, tied it up, went to throw it. I'm like, man, this rod doesn't throw this thing at all. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh shit, I grabbed the 7.4, right? So I had to kind of relearn the cast, because again, there's no real load at it. But man, once I was in the water, every rock, every breath, I knew everything that bait was doing, and I just jacked them.
Yeah.
And then the next day, it was so fun. I went back with the 7.2 heavy, which throws that sleeper gill way better, but the sensitivity was like in half.
Yeah.
So it's one of those rods where once it's there, you're gonna feel everything.
Dude, it's crazy how sensitive it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I found it out, I was flipping. I was frogging, and then I decided, I was like, oh, let me see how good it is at flipping. So I found some cover, and I pitched into some cover, and literally I felt every branch, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. Because you know, we're used to like top-notch sensitivity being in an NRX, right? And that's there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man. And then I got bit, and it felt like someone had smacked the rod with like a pencil or something. It was like just vibrated so hard in my hand. I was like, oh shit. Like, it's nutty, dude.
It's super fun to fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So if you guys are looking for, I don't know, I would call this just an all-around use rod, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is definitely a rod that really was built for like frogging and pitching, right? So it can handle all of that. So if you want to throw, you know, throw your braid on there, throw some 22 fluoro, whatever, it handles all of that great. But as a rod to throw like a mag draft freestyle or like a 6-inch, you know, soft plastic swim bait, it can manage it. It's rated up to 2 ounces. You can do that. You could throw a Texas rig, you can throw a jig. What else have you thrown on this thing?
Texas rig, jig, frog. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I've been doing with it.
Yeah. So when you've got a Texas rig and a jig, how would you rate the sensitivity compared to like your NRX jig rods?
Ooh.
Like pretty much right on par?
It's very, very close.
Yeah.
I haven't thrown a deep jig with it, so I know the NRXs are amazing at the deep jig, but dude, if I was gonna throw a deep jig on a Steez, this would be the rod that I do it on.
Yeah, I think I would choose this over the bottom contact.
Yes,
for sure.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you guys, if sensitivity is really important to you and certain techniques, I think it's critical to have the most sensitive rod you can have.
Yeah.
This would be an amazing one to consider adding to the arsenal. A lot of guys just need like one rod to accomplish multiple things. We talk about junk fishing rods a lot.
Yeah.
This is a super sick one. It's for these heavier things that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's the ultimate junk fishing power rod. It does everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different things you can do with it.
Yeah.
Like I can see having 3 or 4 of these on the deck
For sure.
for different things. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
I really like it.
So as far as techniques that you guys will find good on this, everything that we just talked about, obviously like worms, Texas rigs, jigs, especially if you're like running bank, pitching docks, you know, skipping laydowns, close range stuff, this rod's really gonna shine at that. Your weedless swim baits, your frogs, that's gonna be right in the wheelhouse. You could throw a bigger spinner bait, like if you want to throw a 3/4 ounce spinner bait on the bottom and just really slowly crawl it and feel it down there, this would be a dope one. A bigger underspin, like if you wanted to throw like a 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce underspin or swim bait head with like a paddle tail, this would be a sick ass one because you could literally feel it bounce every rock down a ledge or off a point. This would be a great one. So really, I think what it comes down to is that kind of heavier size. Getting back to what you're saying with the frog, your overall weight is probably going to need to be 3/4.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a Daiwa SV versus like a Steez A, right? The Steez A does not like to throw small things, right? That's kind of like how that rod is. It doesn't like small things. It wants to be powered.
Yeah.
And it wants to be like strong cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even mid-sized things like a 3/4 ounce sleeper gill or a frog.
Yeah.
It still doesn't really love to throw it.
Yeah.
Like, so you're gonna have to kind of, it's a give and take.
Yeah.
Right? You're giving up a little bit of that real soft, easy to cast tip, but you're gaining a shit ton of sensitivity.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how sensitive it is. So if that's something that's important, it might be worth sacrificing a little bit there in that stiffness factor.
And then, just like the 711, this rod fishes really small. You can't tell that you have a 7'4" extra heavy rod in your hand. Like, I fished it recently from my kayak sitting down, and I was roll casting it. Like, I'm sitting inches from the water and just comfortably roll casting it into toolies, flipping them like that. No problem.
Yeah.
Like, everyone wants a shorter rod for a kayak, but I can't do it.
Yeah. And I would say when it comes to walking frog, I can go from my poker, which is 7.2, to this, which is 7.4. Feels like I'm using the same length rod. You don't feel extra 2 inches because it's overall it's lighter.
Yeah.
It's a super light rod. It's super well balanced. It sits in your hand really nice. What reel are you throwing on it?
I was throwing my Zillion 9.
Okay.
Yeah, Zillion 9 most of the time. I did put the Steez A2 on there just to see what it felt like.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Steez A would be a great option. The Zillion HD has been on mine. The day that I took it to the pond, I think there was a Metanium DC on it. So if you guys are okay having Shimano reels on Daiwa rods, then, you know, I'm okay with it.
If it works, it works.
Right. So, you know, it's one of those rods that can fit a 100, a 150, or a 200.
Yeah.
But honestly, the 100 or 150 size fits it the best.
Yeah.
Like you could go to like a Zillion 1520 and it would work on there, but like the JDM Zillion HD would be better, or a regular Zillion, Steez A. Those are just because it's such a small, light rod.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. And it's super comfortable. Everything about it, dude. It's a good one, dude. I really liked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's basically the Ben and Griff commercial.
Yeah.
For the 7.4 heavy cover special. So, you know, look guys, if you're looking for just that one rod to do a bunch of different things, it's definitely a rod to keep on the radar.
Definitely.
It's worth giving a look. It's worth giving a shot. Just know going in that you're gonna have to kind of fine tune your timing.
Yeah.
But once you get the bait out there, I think it's one of the best rods.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like once the bait's in the water, you can manage it like great.
Yeah.
It's super manageable.
Yeah. So there's your final look. If you guys have any questions on the rod, our experience with the rod, anything we talked about, whether it's, you know, rod related or technique related or anything that Griff and I covered, drop it down below in the comments and we'll definitely get some answers for you guys. And if you want to come in the shop and check it out, or if you want to see any of these bends, you guys can always hit us up on Instagram and we can send you videos of tapers of rods and, you know, handle lengths and any questions you guys have if you can't make it into the shop to touch them. So let's go use it again.
Let's go do it.
All right. Thank you guys on behalf of myself and Griff and Jeff. You've been very quiet over there, Jeff.
I've never used the rod.
So.
Well,
Well, that's
on
why
you.
we don't ask you any questions.
Shame on you,
Thank
Jeff.
God.
If you guys have any questions, hit us and we will see you soon on the next one. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you for your business. And we'll see you again soon. Peace out. See you, bro.